Over the last couple of years, we've had many amazing movie moments. Many of these great moments were unexpected, at least to a degree, and built up either by the film or the marketing. Such moments are so satisfying, especially in an era where many films are excessively predictable. What they've all got in common is that they were stupendously satisfying surprises, especially as a couple of these were lurking within otherwise terrible movies. And with that being said, I'm Jem from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 insane recent movie moments that came out of nowhere. Number 10, Challengers, the tennis ball pov. Challengers is no great movie. It's a classic case of talented cast and crew elevating a subpar script. Despite the marketing promising a transgressive, psychological and kinky sports drama, the movie instead boasted a bog-standard love triangle plot that could have come out of any trashy airport novel. Nevertheless, it's still a decent work that's lifted up quite a bit by the many talented people on board, especially the lead Zendaya and the amazing director Luca Guadagnino. This excellent Italian director has, throughout his filmography, firmly established himself as an inventive director who plays around with filmic techniques in interesting, often unexpected ways. Just watch his awe-inspiring Suspiria remake, which was probably the most W2F movie of the year. Having said that, this bonkers moment from the ending of Challengers was unexpected even for him. During the climatic tennis match between Patrick and Art, the film eventually moves to the pov of the tennis ball itself, and this is one of the most insane pieces of cinematography in any recent movie. Again, even by the standards of Luca, this was glorious and unexpected. Even if Challengers has had its issues, it's worth seeing it for this ending alone. Number 9, Megalopoullis, where to begin? Megalopoullis is absolutely crazy. It's an unhinged exercise in delivering one WTF moment after another, all the way through its beefy runtime. For example, early on, protagonist Caesar Catalina starts reciting the to be or not to be monologue from Shakespeare's Hamlet out of nowhere. Why? Well, why the hell not? This movie is a never-ending assault on the senses, filled with surreal imagery, out-of-left-field gags, and bizarre narrative developments. That includes Adam Driver rebuilding his skull using a mystical material named Megalon, and even him being able to freeze time. Again, why not? Given just how completely bonkers and confusing this movie is, it's not exactly a surprise that it polarized viewers so much. Some people really enjoyed it, but it is an undeniably messy work, whichever way you cut it, and some will definitely find it a bit too weird for their taste. Number 8, Joker, Folie à Deux, Arthur Dies. Did anybody see this coming? Probably not. At the end of the much-loathed Joker Folie à Deux, Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix, having renounced his Joker persona in court and confessed to his crimes, is murdered by an unnamed inmate. This mysterious killer is implied to be destined to become the next Joker, possibly the one that Batman will face off against one day. This one was unexpected in two ways. Firstly, the main character getting killed off so abruptly by some random guy who was never even named, no less, was quite the shock, and not something that many people had on their bingo cards. Secondly, it was actually a really good ending, and considering how bad the film was as a whole, it was quite a pleasant surprise. This ending has faced plenty of criticism from fans, and yet, while most of the backlash towards the movie was completely understandable, the hate towards this was arguably excessive. It was an interesting way to conclude Arthur's story. He's killed off by someone inspired by him, thus really highlighting the nature of evil and how what he inspired will carry on through many generations. That ultimately is the very essence of a comic book character, is it not? A mask, an idea that many different characters wear and interpret in their own ways. And besides, at least this means we are not getting a Joker 3. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and while you're there, drop us a like, share, and subscribe too. Number 7, Killers of the Flower Moon, the radio show. At the end of Martin Scorsese's latest masterpiece, where white Americans systematically murdered Native Americans in order to access to the oil reserves they owned, we get one of the greatest endings to any recent movie. It is completely ingenious. Once Ernest Bucker finally testifies against his villainous uncle, William King Hale, and confesses to his role in these sickening crimes, the action jumps ahead several decades to A radio show. A cheap radio show produced by the FBI and performed by white actors recounts the aftermath of these horrific events in a sensationalized, throwaway manner. This shines a depressing light on the inadequate justice in the aftermath of the murders, with both Ernst and William being paroled early. At the end, a producer played by none other than Martin Scorsese himself explains that Molly Bockhurst, the wife of Ernest, who's lost many family members to the murders and was nearly fatally poisoned by him herself, died at the age of 50, and that the obituaries made no mention of the murders. With apologies to Alfred Hitchcock, this is arguably the greatest director's cameo of all time, and this final scene was a shattering way to critique the indifference to the murders among the general public. Number 6. Air. Flash forward. Ben Affleck finally returned to the director's chair to make this awesome true life drama, which showed the story of Nike's efforts to strike a business deal with Michael Jordan so that he will sponsor a new basketball shoe line. With Air, Affleck reminded us just what we'd been missing, as he did a fantastic job of making a cinematic and visually striking film that was mostly people talking in rooms. This razor-sharp inclusion of a documentary footage provided the best showcase of this. During a meeting with Michael Jordan and his parents, Nike's basketball talent scout Sonny Vaccaro launches into an insanely great monologue warning Jordan of the many trials and tribulations he will inevitably face in his sporting journey. But saying that, he'll be an inspiration to all Americans. As he puts it, your story will make us want to fly. During his speech, documentary footage of Jordan's future life is inserted, an unexpected yet phenomenally effective example of meta-cinema that lends even greater weight to Vaccaro's words. Regardless of how good the picture is overall, this scene alone makes it worth watching. Number 5. The Brutalist. Harrison assaults Laszlo. Brody Corbett's stunning period drama The Brutalist is, as historical epics go, a fairly subdued movie in a number of ways. Telling the story of Hungarian Jewish architect Laszlo Toth, who flees to the United States during World War II but discovers that it's not the promised land he was hoping for, this is a slow and patient movie that's short on big moments. Rather, it focuses more on developing its characters and world, thus allowing viewers to get fully immersed in the film's fictional yet entirely believable, authentic narrative. Having said that, when the big moments come along, they hit devastatingly hard. The picture's most shocking moment, and the scene which probably earned The Brutalist its 18 certificate in the UK, is the moment where wealthy American industrialist, the ever brilliant and ever underrated Guy Pearce, who finally got his first Oscar nomination for this movie, sexually assaults Toth in a sickening act of power, calling him a societal parasite. It's a startling and horrifying moment that hammers home the film's de-romanticized portrayal of the immigrant experience in an unforgettable manner. Having said this, it should have been noted that The Brutalist handles this sensitive topic well, and the inclusion of sexual violence here didn't feel gratuitous. Number 4. Beetlejuice, right here waiting. Beetlejuice was, despite its bloated story, a glorious good time. It was essentially an hour and a half of Tim Burton being Tim Burton, where there was no studio breathing down his neck, unlike his previous movie Dumbo, which nearly put him off filmmaking altogether. And Burton was allowed to realise his vision in all of its dark, quirky, wacky glory. And the sequel's best moment? This brilliant, out-of-left-field gag. After Lydia Dietz returns to the house from the original film, where she's reunited with Beetlejuice, she manages to return to the world of the living, but hears music and looks down to see Beetlejuice standing on the model town in the attic, serenading her with Richard Marx's Right Here Waiting. This moment is dark, hysterically funny, gloriously wacky, sinister, and even slightly cute all at the same time, so it really doesn't get much more Tim Burton than this. It'll have everyone howling with laughter, and it's one of the greatest uses of popular music in any recent movie. A needle drop that would make James Gunn proud. Number 3. About Dry Grasses, the film set. Time for an obscure one now. About Dry Grasses is a terrific Turkish drama which tells the story of a teacher who's accused of abusing one of his students. This is a largely low-key and realistic movie. That makes this particular excursion into surrealism all the more startling. Late in the film, protagonist Samet is spending time with a woman who he is infuriated with. He needs to go to the bathroom, and so he goes through a door onto a film set, takes a Viagra in the set's bathroom, and then returns to the film as if nothing happened. huh? It really does come completely out of nowhere. It's the kind of scene you'd expect from a movie by a surrealist director such as Louis Buñuel or the late great David Lynch, but not from an otherwise grounded drama like this. This moment could be read in a number of different ways. Perhaps this insertion of meta-cinema was a way of linking the film's relatable universal themes to our reality. Anyhow, whatever this movie was intending with this, it is an awesome moment and perhaps about dry grass's most unforgettable scene. Number 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, Blade. Before Deadpool and Wolverine came out, we all knew it would be filled with surprising cameos, and indeed, there were many delightful treasures. Having said that, some of them were a little easier to see coming. Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner, and the Human Torch, played by Chris Evans, had been rumoured in the months before, and one of the trailers basically gave away the return of X-23, so it's great that they managed to keep the biggest blockbuster cameo under wraps. This was none other than Blade, with Wesley Snipes returning to his signature role after nearly 20 years away. It was difficult not to cheer the roof off when Blade walked into the shoot, looking as gloriously badass as ever. Furthermore, Snipes was just as great as he always was in the part, and though he is not in the film an awful lot, he makes every single second count. An interesting gag was when he said, "There's only ever gonna be one Blade," and then Deadpool looked at the camera and raised his eyebrows. If you get it, you get it. Still, with that new Blade now indefinitely delayed, maybe there was only ever gonna be one Blade. And that's fine, it's just hard to imagine anyone doing it better than him. And number 1, The Crow. An actually really good fight scene. Finally, this one came out of nowhere in a different sort of way. The fight scene near the end of 2024's The Crow reboot, in which Eric/The Crow wipes the floor with many enemy goons in an opera house, is pretty startling by itself, given what an unhinged bloodbath it is. Having said that, what really made it so completely shocking and out of nowhere was that this was legitimately a great action sequence in an otherwise wretched movie. For most of its runtime, this unasked for reboot was an ugly, cringe-inducing mess that was fatally short on the action audiences, the few that showed it up that is, actually came for. As such, this crazy fight sequence was an absolute shocker. Where was this awesomeness throughout the rest of the movie? If nothing else, this gory knockout of a set piece shows that there was potential here for a decent enough film had they made it more of a lean, bare bones action flick. And that makes the picture's eventual failure that much more frustrating.